Our story begins on the shadowed underlevels of Coruscant, where the neon glow of the city barely pierced the haze of smog and secrecy. Anakin Skywalker, cloaked in a tattered robe, moved like a specter through the labyrinthine alleys, his lightsaber hidden beneath the folds of his disguise. The Clone Wars raged across the galaxy, but here, in the belly of the Republic's capital, a different war simmered, one of whispers, betrayals, and hidden truths. Days ago, the Jedi Council had summoned Anakin to a sealed chamber, their faces grim under the weight of a dangerous proposition. The Republic was fracturing, not just from separatist blades, but from a rot within. Someone, or something, was orchestrating the war's chaos, and the Jedi needed eyes where no lightsaber could shine. Anakin, with his unorthodox instincts and raw power, was chosen to become their spy, to infiltrate the separatist ranks under a false identity. The mission burned in his chest, a mix of pride and unease. He was the hero of the Republic, the chosen one, yet now he was to walk among enemies, alone, with no one to trust, not even Obi-Wan. The weight of the decision clung to Anakin as he slipped into a dimly lit cantina, its air thick with the stench of spice and desperation. His new identity, a rogue smuggler named Kale Varn, had been crafted with meticulous care by Jedi archivists. His face was altered with subtle prosthetics, his force presence dampened by meditative techniques taught by Master Yoda himself. Yet, beneath the facade, Anakin's heart churned. He was no stranger to deception. His secret marriage to Padme Amidala was proof of that. But this mission demanded he bury himself deeper than ever before. The Council had warned him. One misstep, and the galaxy could fall. As he scanned the cantina, his eyes locked onto a hooded figure in the corner, a separatist operative known only as Shade. This was his first contact, the key to entering Count Dooku's inner circle. Anakin's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the thrill of the unknown. He was stepping into a game where every move could be his last, and the stakes were the lives of everyone he loved. Anakin's journey began in earnest as he left Coruscant aboard a stolen freighter, its hull scarred from battles long forgotten. Shade, a wiry Twi'lek with eyes like polished obsidian, had accepted his cover story after a tense exchange of credits and coded phrases. The operative's trust was fragile, but it was enough to secure Anakin a meeting on Raxus, the political heart of the Separatist alliance. The planet's golden spires and lush gardens stood in stark contrast to the war-torn worlds Anakin knew, a facade of civility masking the machinery of rebellion. As Kyle Varn, he presented himself as a smuggler with access to Republic supply routes, offering to betray his former allies for profit. The Separatist senators, led by the charismatic Mina Bonteri, were intrigued but cautious. Anakin's charm, honed from years of navigating Padme's political circles, disarmed their suspicions, but he felt the weight of their scrutiny. Every word, every gesture, had to be perfect. At night, in the solitude of his quarters, he reached out through the Force, seeking Padme's presence across the stars. Her warmth steadied him, but it also reminded him of what he risked losing if he failed. The mission deepened as Anakin was summoned to Sereno, Count Dooku's stronghold. The planet's storm-swept cliffs and ancient castles radiated an aura of menace, as if the dark side itself had taken root in the stone. Dooku, tall and regal, met Anakin in a grand hall lined with tapestries depicting Sith victories. The former Jedi's gaze was piercing, his voice smooth as silk, yet laced with danger. Anakin's cover held, but Dooku's probing questions tested his resolve. The Count spoke of the Republic's corruption, of a galaxy choking under bureaucratic decay, and for a moment, Anakin felt a flicker of doubt. Dooku's words echoed his own frustrations with the Jedi Council, their rigid codes, their blindness to the war's toll. But Anakin pushed the thought aside, focusing on his objective. uncover the Separatists' plans, and identify the shadowy figure pulling their strings. Dooku assigned him to a covert operation on Felucia, a jungle world where a secret weapons facility was nearing completion. Anakin's role was to ensure its security, a perfect opportunity to gather intelligence, but also a trap if his true identity was discovered. On Felucia, the air was thick with humidity and the hum of alien life. Anakin moved through the dense jungle alongside a cadre of battle droids and separatist mercenaries, his senses heightened by the Force. The facility, a sprawling complex hidden beneath bioluminescent vines, was producing a new class of droid starfighters equipped with cloaking technology. Anakin's heart sank as he realized the implications. These weapons could cripple Republic fleets, prolonging the war indefinitely. He transmitted encrypted data to the Jedi via a hidden comm device, but the risk of exposure grew with every moment. The mercenaries, led by a ruthless Zabrak named Vrox, watched him closely, their suspicion fueled by his uncanny skill in combat drills. During a patrol, Vrox challenged Anakin to a sparring match, a test disguised as camaraderie. Their blades clashed in the glow of Felucia's flora, Anakin's disguised vibroblade meeting Vrox's cortosis-weaved staff. Anakin restrained his true strength, letting Vrox land calculated blows to maintain his cover, but the effort strained his patience. The Zabrak's taunts, mocking the Republic's cowardly Jedi, stirred a fire in Anakin's chest, a reminder of the anger he fought to control. Back on Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi paced the Jedi Temple's halls, his mind heavy with concern. The Council had forbidden him from contacting Anakin, citing the need for absolute secrecy, but Obi-Wan felt the void of his former apprentice's absence. He confided in Master Yoda, who warned that Anakin's mission tested not just his skill, but his soul. The dark side thrived in deception, and Anakin's heart, already torn between duty and love, was vulnerable. Obi-Wan's thoughts drifted to Padme, whose strained smiles at Senate briefings betrayed her own worry. Though she knew nothing of Anakin's mission, her intuition sensed his distance. Obi-Wan vowed to protect her, even as he grappled with his own doubts about the Council's decision. Meanwhile, Ahsoka Tano, now estranged from the Jedi Order, caught wind of a smuggler named Kael Varn through underworld contacts. Her instincts told her something was amiss, and she began tracking his movements, unaware that she was closing in on her former master. On Felucia, Anakin's mission took a dangerous turn. During a nighttime inspection, he infiltrated the facility's core, downloading schematics of the cloaked starfighters. As he prepared to transmit the data, an alarm blared. Vrox had discovered his tampering. The Zabrak confronted him in the control room, his staff crackling with energy. Anakin's cover was unraveling, and he had no choice but to fight. The duel was swift and brutal, Anakin's vibroblade moving with Jedi precision despite his restraint. Vrox's staff grazed his shoulder, drawing blood, but Anakin disarmed him with a calculated strike, leaving the Zabrak unconscious. He transmitted the data and fled into the jungle, pursued by droids and mercenaries. The Force guided his steps, but the weight of his deception pressed harder. He was no longer just a Jedi. He was a shadow, living a lie that threatened to consume him. Anakin's escape led him to a hidden cave, where he patched his wounds and reflected on his path. The mission was changing him, sharpening his edges, forcing him to confront the parts of himself he'd buried. The anger, the fear, the longing for Padme. He wondered if the Jedi truly understood the cost of what they'd asked. As he rested, a faint presence brushed against his senses. Ahsoka. She had tracked him to Felucia, her instincts unerring. Their reunion was tense, Ahsoka's eyes narrowing as she recognized Anakin beneath the disguise. She demanded answers, her voice thick with betrayal, but Anakin could only offer half-truths, bound by the Council's orders. Ahsoka's pain mirrored his own, a reminder of the family he'd lost when she left the Order. He convinced her to keep his secret, but her presence complicated everything. If she stayed, she could expose him. If she left, she might fall into separatist hands. The mission escalated as Dooku arrived on Felucia, summoned by reports of a breach. Anakin, now rejoined by Ahsoka under the guise of a mercenary ally, faced the Count in a tense briefing. Dooku's gaze lingered on Anakin, as if sensing a disturbance in the Force. The Count ordered an accelerated timeline for the starfighter deployment, unaware that Anakin had sabotaged the facility's power grid during his infiltration. As the meeting ended, Ahsoka whispered a warning. She'd overheard Vrox plotting to expose Kael Varn. Anakin's heart raced, but he steeled himself. The game was far from over, and the galaxy's fate rested on his ability to play it. He moved through the facility's corridors, Ahsoka at his side, their bond strained but unbroken. The jungle hummed with danger, and Anakin felt the dark side's pull, tempting him to abandon the mission and take what he wanted. Padme, peace, freedom. But he pressed forward, driven by a flickering hope that his sacrifice could save them all. The humid air of Felucia pulsed with tension as Anakin Skywalker, still cloaked as Kael Varn, navigated the separatist facility's shadowed corridors. Ahsoka Tano moved silently at his side, her presence both a comfort and a complication. The jungle world's bioluminescent glow seeped through cracked transparasteel windows, casting eerie patterns across their path. Anakin's sabotage of the facility's power grid had delayed the cloaked starfighter production, but the cost was steep. Vrox, the Zabrak mercenary, was closing in on his true identity, and Count Dooku's arrival had sharpened the stakes. Anakin's mind churned with the weight of his deception, each step pulling him deeper into a web of lies that threatened to unravel. The Force hummed around him, a turbulent mix of warning and temptation, urging him to fight, to flee, to claim the power that could end this charade. But he clung to his mission, driven by the faint hope that his actions could shorten the war and protect Padme. Ahsoka's gaze lingered on Anakin, her eyes searching for the master she once knew beneath the smuggler's guise. Their reunion had been fraught, her trust frayed by his secrecy, but she had agreed to aid him. For now. Anakin felt the strain of her presence, a reminder of the bonds he'd broken when she left the Jedi Order. He couldn't afford to lose her again, yet every moment she remained increased the risk of exposure. As they approached the facility's central hub, Vrox's voice echoed through the comm system, ordering a lockdown. The Zabrak had survived their duel and was rallying the mercenaries, claiming Kael Varn was a Republic infiltrator. Anakin's heart pounded, but he forced calm into his voice, instructing Ahsoka to secure an escape route while he confronted the threat. She hesitated, her loyalty warring with doubt, then nodded and slipped into the shadows. Anakin steeled himself, knowing the next hours would test not just his skill, but his resolve. The facility erupted into chaos as battle droids flooded the corridors, their clanking steps a relentless drumbeat. Anakin moved like a phantom, his vibroblade flashing in the dim light as he disabled droids with surgical precision. He avoided using the Force overtly, relying on his training to maintain his cover, but the effort was taxing. Vrox's mercenaries joined the fray, their blasters painting the air with streaks of red. Anakin ducked behind a crate, his breath ragged, and reached out through the Force to sense Ahsoka's position. She was carving a path to the hangar, her twin vibroblades a blur against droid patrols. Their unspoken coordination, honed from years of fighting side by side, gave Anakin a flicker of hope. But the moment shattered as Vrox appeared at the corridor's end, his cortosis staff crackling with energy. The Zabrak's eyes burned with triumph, his voice a snarl as he accused Kael of betrayal. Anakin rose, his vibroblade ready, knowing this fight could expose him to Dooku himself. The duel was a storm of steel and fury, Vrox's staff clashing against Anakin's blade in a shower of sparks. The Zabrak fought with brutal efficiency, his strikes fueled by rage, but Anakin's Jedi instincts gave him the edge. He parried a thrust, twisting to land a kick that sent Vrox stumbling. The mercenaries circled, blasters raised, but Vrox waved them back, determined to claim the kill. Anakin's mind raced, balancing the need to win with the risk of revealing his true power. He let Vrox press the attack, feigning weakness, then struck with a calculated slash that severed the Zabrak's staff. Vrox roared, drawing a blaster, but Anakin was faster, disarming him with a flick of his blade. The Zabrak fell, unconscious, as the mercenaries hesitated, unsure whether to engage. Anakin seized the moment, slipping into the shadows before Dooku's reinforcements could arrive. His heart thundered, not from the fight, but from the realization that his cover was crumbling. In the hangar, Ahsoka had secured a battered shuttle, its engines humming faintly. Anakin joined her, his shoulder still bleeding from Vrox's earlier strike. They exchanged no words, only a glance that spoke of trust and tension. As the shuttle lifted off, Felucia's jungle canopy stretched below, a vibrant tapestry hiding the war's scars. Anakin transmitted the final schematics to the Jedi, his fingers trembling with exhaustion. The mission was a success, but the cost weighed heavily. Ahsoka broke the silence, her voice low, asking why he was doing this, why he risked everything for a council that never fully trusted him. Anakin's jaw tightened, his thoughts drifting to Padme's smile, to Obi-Wan's steady presence, to the galaxy he fought to save. He told Ahsoka it was for those who couldn't fight, a half-truth that masked his deeper fears. She didn't press further, but her silence was louder than words. Anakin's anger softened, replaced by guilt. On Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi stood before the Jedi Council, his voice steady but laced with urgency. Anakin's transmissions had confirmed the Separatists' cloaked starfighters, but the Council was divided on how to proceed. Mace Windu argued for a direct assault on Felucia, while Yoda cautioned that the true threat lay in the shadows, beyond Dooku's reach. Obi-Wan's thoughts were with Anakin, whose absence gnawed at him like a wound. He sensed a darkness growing around his former apprentice, not from betrayal, but from the toll of deception. Padme, unaware of Anakin's mission, met Obi-Wan in the temple gardens, her eyes searching for answers he couldn't give. Her strength bolstered him, but it also deepened his resolve to bring Anakin home. Elsewhere, Ahsoka's underworld contacts reached out, warning of a bounty on Kael Varn's head. She kept this from Anakin, fearing it would push him further into isolation. Anakin's next assignment took him to Mustafar, a volcanic hellscape where the Separatists were forging alliances with the Techno-Union. Dooku had entrusted Kael Varn with overseeing a shipment of experimental droid components, a test of loyalty that Anakin knew was a trap. The planet's molten rivers cast a crimson glow across the landing platform, where General Grievous awaited, his mechanical limbs clicking with menace. Anakin's disguise held, but Grievous's yellow eyes seemed to pierce through it, his voice a rasp as he questioned Kael's origins. Anakin deflected with practiced ease, but the encounter left him rattled. Grievous was no mere soldier. He was a predator, and Anakin felt the weight of his scrutiny. As he inspected the shipment, Anakin planted a tracking device, hoping to trace the components to their source. But the Force stirred, warning of danger, and he sensed Ahsoka nearby, shadowing him against his orders. The mission spiraled as Grievous uncovered the tracking device, his rage erupting in a flurry of lightsabers. Anakin drew his vibroblade, barely deflecting the general's strikes as molten sparks rained around them. The duel was a nightmare of speed and precision, Grievous's 4 blades a whirlwind that pushed Anakin to his limits. He fought as Kael Varn, restraining his Jedi training, but the effort was agonizing. Ahsoka leapt into the fray, her vibroblades clashing with Grievous's sabers, giving Anakin a moment to regroup. Together, they drove Grievous back, their movements a seamless dance despite the years apart. But the general retreated, summoning droid reinforcements that swarmed the platform. Anakin and Ahsoka fought their way to the shuttle, their breaths ragged as they escaped into Mustafar's ash-choked skies. The mission was compromised, but Anakin had glimpsed something crucial. A holocron in Grievous's possession, its dark aura hinting at Sith secrets. Back in the shuttle, Anakin's frustration boiled over. He confronted Ahsoka, demanding to know why she disobeyed him. Her eyes flashed with defiance, revealing the bounty on Kael Varn and her fear of losing him again. He saw the toll his mission was taking on her, on himself, on everyone he cared about. The Force felt murky, clouded by his own doubts. He confided in Ahsoka, admitting the mission's true scope. The Jedi suspected a Sith Lord orchestrating the war, and he was their only hope of unmasking them. Ahsoka's resolve hardened, but she warned Anakin that the dark side thrived in secrecy. Their bond, strained but resilient, held them together as they plotted their next move. Anakin knew Dooku would summon him soon, and the holocron's secrets could be the key to ending the war, or his undoing. On Coruscant, Obi-Wan intercepted a coded message from Anakin, detailing the holocron and Grievous's involvement. The Council's unease grew, with Windu suspecting Dooku was merely a pawn. Yoda's eyes narrowed, sensing a deeper darkness. Obi-Wan volunteered to join Anakin, but the Council refused, citing the need for secrecy. Frustrated, Obi-Wan reached out to Padme, urging her to trust that Anakin was fighting for the galaxy. Her strength steadied him, but he felt the Force's currents shifting, pulling Anakin toward a precipice. On Mustafar, Anakin and Ahsoka prepared for Dooku's summons, unaware that Grievous had reported their escape to a higher power. In a shadowed chamber on Coruscant, Darth Sidious watched through a probe droid, his lips curling into a smile. Anakin's mission was playing into his hands, and the Chosen One's fall was closer than ever. The volcanic skies of Mustafar churned with ash as Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano piloted their stolen shuttle toward Sereno, summoned by Count Dooku's cryptic command. The holocron Anakin had glimpsed in General Grievous's possession weighed on his mind, its dark pulse a beacon to secrets that could unravel the Clone Wars. Beneath his smuggler's guise as Kael Varn, Anakin's heart raced with equal parts dread and determination. The mission had pushed him to the edge. Deceptions layered upon deceptions, bonds strained with Ahsoka, and the ever-present pull of Padme's love anchoring him to the light. Ahsoka sat silently, her vibroblades strapped across her back, her eyes scanning the stars for threats. Their escape from Mustafar had been narrow, and Grievous's report to an unseen master hinted at a trap closing around them. Anakin felt the Force's currents twisting, warning of a reckoning. Sereno's storm-lashed cliffs loomed ahead, and he knew this was where his fate, and the galaxy's, would be decided. On Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi stood in the Jedi Temple's war room, his hands clenched as he studied Anakin's latest transmission. The holocron's existence confirmed the Council's fears. A Sith Lord, hidden in plain sight, was orchestrating the war. Master Yoda's gaze was heavy, his voice low as he spoke of a darkness clouding their vision. Mace Windu proposed a strike on Sereno, but Obi-Wan argued for caution, insisting they trust Anakin's mission. The Council relented, but their faith was fragile. Obi-Wan's thoughts drifted to Padme, whose quiet strength in the Senate masked her growing fear for Anakin. He vowed to join his former apprentice, Council orders be damned, and slipped away to prepare a shuttle. Meanwhile, Ahsoka's underworld contacts sent her a warning. The bounty on Kael Varn had tripled, with whispers of a Sith Lord's involvement. She kept this from Anakin, fearing it would shatter his focus, but the weight of her silence deepened the rift between them. Sereno's ancient castle greeted Anakin and Ahsoka with a chill that seeped into their bones. Dooku awaited them in a grand chamber, his crimson cape billowing as lightning cracked beyond the windows. The holocron rested on a pedestal, its obsidian surface pulsing with malevolent energy. Dooku's voice was calm but edged with suspicion, questioning Kyle Varn's loyalty after the Mustafar incident. Anakin's cover held, his words smooth as he spun tales of Republic betrayals, but the Count's eyes narrowed, sensing a disturbance. Ahsoka, posing as a mercenary, stood rigid, her hand itching for her blades. Dooku revealed the holocron's purpose. It contained coordinates to a hidden Sith archive, a repository of knowledge that could tip the war's balance. He tasked Kale with delivering it to a contact on Coruscant, a test Anakin knew was meant to expose him. As they left the chamber, Ahsoka whispered that Grievous was en route, his fleet darkening Sereno's orbit. The trap was set, and Anakin's pulse thundered with the certainty of battle. The castle's corridors became a battlefield as Grievous descended, his mechanical laughter echoing through the stone. Anakin and Ahsoka fought back to back, vibroblades clashing against droid sentries. Grievous emerged from the shadows, 4 lightsabers igniting in a deadly arc. Anakin drew his hidden lightsaber, its blue blade a defiant truth that shattered his disguise. Grievous roared, recognizing the Jedi, and the duel erupted with ferocious speed. Anakin's strikes were a blur, parrying 2 of Grievous's blades while Ahsoka countered the others, her agility a counterpoint to his strength. The general's sabers grazed Anakin's arm, sparks flying as stone walls crumbled. Ahsoka leapt, slicing a chandelier that crashed onto Grievous, buying them seconds to retreat. They raced for the holocron, Anakin's force-enhanced speed outpacing the droids. He seized the artifact, its dark energy burning his palm, and they fled toward the hangar, pursued by Grievous's relentless advance. The hangar was a maelstrom of blaster fire and collapsing beams. Anakin and Ahsoka boarded a separatist shuttle, but Grievous blocked their path, his sabers spinning like a cyclone. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, meeting Grievous head-on in a clash that shook the platform. Ahsoka flanked the general, her blades carving through his armor, but Grievous's mechanical strength was unrelenting. Anakin's anger surged, the dark side whispering promises of power, but he focused on Padme's face, grounding himself. With a force push, he sent Grievous staggering, and Ahsoka's strike severed one of his arms. The general retreated, vowing revenge, as Anakin and Ahsoka launched the shuttle into Sereno's stormy skies. The holocron pulsed in Anakin's hands, its secrets a ticking bomb. As they entered hyperspace, Ahsoka's voice broke the silence, urging Anakin to destroy the artifact. He hesitated, torn between duty and the fear that its knowledge could save, or doom, the galaxy. On Coruscant, Obi-Wan's shuttle landed in the industrial sector, guided by Anakin's encrypted signal. He sensed his friend's turmoil through the Force, a storm of light and shadow. Padme, alerted by Obi-Wan, joined him, her presence a quiet strength despite her fear. The Jedi Council mobilized, alerted by Anakin's transmission of the holocron's coordinates. Yoda and Windu led a strike team to intercept, suspecting the Sith Lord's hand. Anakin and Ahsoka arrived at the designated meeting point, a derelict factory bathed in the red glow of smelting furnaces. The contact was no ordinary operative but Darth Sidious himself, cloaked in darkness, his yellow eyes gleaming with triumph. Anakin's blood ran cold as Sidious revealed his true identity. Chancellor Palpatine. The holocron was a lure, designed to draw the Jedi's spy into the open. Ahsoka's blades ignited, but Sidious's laughter chilled the air, his power a suffocating weight. The high noon came in a blaze of light and shadow. Sidious unleashed a torrent of force lightning, its blue arcs searing the factory's walls. Anakin's lightsaber deflected the bolts, his movements a desperate dance of survival. Ahsoka lunged, her blades a whirlwind, but Sidious batted her aside with a gesture, sending her crashing into a furnace. Anakin roared, his saber slashing at Sidious, but the Sith Lord's crimson blade met his with unnatural speed. The duel tore through the factory, beams collapsing, molten metal splashing. Sidious's taunts pierced Anakin's resolve, promising power to save Padme, to end the war. Anakin's anger flared, his strikes growing reckless, but Ahsoka's voice, weak but defiant, called him back. Obi-Wan arrived, his blue blade joining the fray, a beacon of hope. Together, the three fought as one, their blades a symphony against Sidious's darkness. Yoda and Windu stormed in, their presence tipping the scales. The battle reached its peak as Sidious unleashed a force storm, shattering the factory's roof. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka pressed forward, their sabers a united front. Yoda countered with a surge of light, weakening Sidious's defenses. Anakin saw an opening, his saber piercing Sidious's guard, but the Sith Lord's lightning grazed his chest, pain exploding through him. Ahsoka's blades struck true, severing Sidious's hand, and Obi-Wan's final slash sent the Sith Lord sprawling. Windu restrained Sidious, the holocron shattering in a burst of dark energy. Anakin collapsed, his breath ragged, the weight of his mission lifting but leaving scars. The Sith Lord was defeated, his plans exposed, but the cost was etched in Anakin's eyes. Trust broken, innocence lost. As Yoda bound Sidious, the factory groaned, a final warning of collapse. The Jedi fled, carrying their victory into the dawn. The galaxy exhaled as news of Sidious's fall spread. On Coruscant, Padme stood before the Senate, her voice steady as she revealed the Sith's manipulation, backed by the holocron's decrypted files. Bail Organa and Mon Mothma rallied for reform, dismantling Palpatine's emergency powers. The Separatists, leaderless without Dooku's guidance, splintered, many systems seeking peace. Anakin returned to the Jedi Temple, his spy's cloak discarded, his lightsaber heavy in his hand. He met Padme in the gardens, their embrace silent but fierce, the weight of their secrets shared at last. Obi-Wan watched, his heart eased but wary, knowing Anakin's brush with darkness had changed him. Ahsoka chose to remain, her bond with Anakin reforged through shared sacrifice. The Jedi Order began to heal, Yoda's wisdom guiding a new path that embraced trust over secrecy. Anakin stood on a temple balcony, the city's lights stretching below like a sea of stars. The war was not over, but its heart had been pierced. He thought of the lies he'd lived, the anger he'd fought, and the love that had saved him. Padme's hand rested on his, a promise of a future they could build together. Obi-Wan joined them, his presence a steady anchor, while Ahsoka's laughter echoed from the training grounds below. The Force flowed freely, its currents no longer clouded by Sith schemes. Across the galaxy, planets rebuilt, clones found purpose beyond war, and the Jedi became guardians of a fragile peace. Anakin's mission had cost him dearly, but it had given him clarity. He was not the chosen one because of prophecy, but because he chose to fight for those he loved. The stars above Coruscant shone brighter, a testament to a galaxy reborn. And folks, that's our story for today. This one was a thrill to write, diving into Anakin's heart as a spy, and the bonds that keep him grounded. Inspired by the cloak and dagger vibes of Andor and the emotional depth of the Clone Wars, I loved exploring a world where Anakin's choices reshape the galaxy. Let me know what you think, and what Star Wars what if you'd like to see next. Thanks for reading, and I'll see you in the next adventure.